In this 25th anniversary year of September 11th, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation is honoring decades of memory, service, and sacrifice. Through its Steel Across America tour, the foundation brings an original World Trade Center steel beam to communities across the country as a symbol of sacrifice. To honor the 343 FDNY heroes lost on 9/11, Tunnel to Towers is delivering 343 mortgage-free homes and continuing efforts to end veteran homelessness. Donate $11 monthly and amplify your impact with a car or land donation at T2T.org.
He's at war with woke.
Joe Concha
thinks liberals are a joke.
Joe Concha.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Welcome, everybody, on this Thursday night, where I nearly had a heart attack earlier because I had Duke winning the national championship in my Final Four NCAA March Madness poll. And little Sienna, was leading the whole game, but unfortunately they played like the same five players, which in basketball, not a good sign. You want to go like 7, 8, 9 deep on your bench. They eventually ran out of gas, and Duke pulled it out at the end. But boy, March Madness truly is madness because, again, I told my kid, who's 10 years old, that he wanted to pick Siena. Now, he doesn't know anything about college basketball. I'm like, no, the 16 seed never beats the 1 seed. You want to pick Duke. And my wife is texting me while I'm here in Butler, Pennsylvania, where I'm doing a speech tonight. Yes, that Butler, Pennsylvania. And she's like, you told him not to take Siena. I'm like, don't worry, Duke will pull this out. And sure enough, they did. So here we are. It's a great time of year, obviously. This goes on for the next 3 weeks, the NCAA tournament. And you know it's March when the madness occurs, when you see all these upsets, and it's awesome, or almost upsets in this case with Siena. Anyway, speaking of near upsets, I shouldn't say near, but the fact that Tim Walz was chosen as Kamala Harris's running mate has to be one of the great political upsets of all times in terms of how did he get picked over other candidates that may have been a little better for Kamala? Not that anybody would have saved her, of course, but Josh Shapiro was sitting out there, Pennsylvania governor, 60-something% approval in a state she had to win, which was purplish Pennsylvania. She bypassed him because, according to her book, he was just too darn Jewish, and some voters in certain swing states would not accept him from the far left, so she bypassed him. And I guess she could have gone with Mark Kelly, who's a clown completely, don't get me wrong, Arizona. But, the resume, you want to sell it in a short period of time, former astronaut, former Air Force veteran, right? He wouldn't hurt you too much, I guess. But instead, she went with goofy 80s sitcom dad Tim Walz. And this guy, I can't think of a worse vice presidential pick ever in the history of presidential politics than this guy. And he was only chosen because he went on social media and before he was chosen kept calling J.D. Vance weird. And then the media liked that for some reason. So they made Tim Walz out to be this transformational figure, this guy that really was kind of cool and can really connect with young people as a guy that maybe Kamala should choose. And sure enough, her being Kamala, actually in the one important decision she had to make in the 2024 campaign, chose Tim Walz to be her running mate. And obviously hurt her. Not that you really could bring that campaign any lower than it was. Rock bottom apparently had a basement because Tim Walz was that bad, especially in the VP debate against J.D. Vance. And ended up, my favorite stat of the 2024 election is the fact that Tim Walz represented a district in Minnesota for many, many years. And while he was on the ticket as the vice president, actually lost the number of voters that Joe Biden had from 2020 in the same district. In other words, the guy who represented you for many, many years in 2024 runs and actually got far less votes than Joe Biden and Kamala Harris did in 2020. Telling you what Minnesota voters, at least outside of Minneapolis, think of this absolute clown. Anyway, the reason why I'm bringing up Tim Walz and that whole episode in 2024 is that we are now at the 1-year anniversary of Walz going off on Elon Musk. He's on stage. He's putting on a big show. he's happy that Tesla, one of the great American companies of all time, that employs many, many, many people and pays them very well. And oh, by the way, electric cars, which the left really, really used to love, right? They're going to save the planet. EVs. Anyway, the point is that Walz, because hating Elon Musk, if you remember about a year ago, was like the in thing with liberals when they literally were firebombing Tesla dealerships, firing at with guns Tesla dealerships. It happened. Look it up. And overall, just Elon Musk was a horrible person because he was part of the Trump administration, at least temporarily, running Doge, cutting government waste, which I would think everybody's against, just like everybody's for voter ID. But sure enough, because it was Trump and because it was Elon Musk, who formerly a Democrat, voted Democrat his whole life, well, the only way to send a message to Elon Musk was to attack dealership, literally set on fire. So Walz, being a profound idiot, then goes up on stage and he's happy about the fact that, at least because the left was revolting, therefore Tesla stock was going down. And here's him celebrating a stock, an American company with American workers and their stock going down, which could lead to layoffs, but Goofy didn't care. This is cut number 11. Go.
Saying on my phone, I don't know, some of you know this on the iPhone, they've got that little stock app. I added Tesla to it to give me a little boost during the day.
Yeah.
225 and dropping. So.
Whee!
And if you own one, we're not blaming you. You can take dental floss and pull the Tesla thing off, and take out, just telling you.
Here's the joke. Minnesota, the state that Tim Walz is the governor of, owns ample stock to the tunes of tens upon tens of millions of dollars in Tesla stock. And how Tesla stock does affects the pension for the state of Minnesota. So when you root for Tesla stock to go down, you literally are rooting against those who are invested state employees in that stock. But this idiot who clearly has no idea what's going on in his own state, look at the fraud that's going on to the tune of 9, 10, not million, but $1 billion run by the Mogadishu Somali pirates that took over without him knowing a thing, apparently, if you believe that. This guy roots against Tesla stock, not realizing that if Tesla stock goes down, then, well, that hurts the people that he represents. Anyway, Walz is now not running for another term in Minnesota because his political brand is that damaged. Obviously, he's not running for president because outside of those who are part of the MSNBC, MS Now fan club would never, ever vote for him. Here's the thing. Walz was bragging that Tesla stock had dropped to $225. Where is it today? $400. Whoops. I mean, this guy is, remember the movie Bronx Tale? And there was the character Mush. And every time you bet on something, you knew you lost if you were on his side. So there's that great scene. I guess they're at, I don't know if it was Belmont or Aqueduct. My father's going to text me probably during this and say, it was Aqueduct. How do you not know this? But obviously you had the mob there and they were all betting on this one horse. And then the horse is winning. And then Mush, who's Tim Walz in real life, is coming out rooting for the same horse. And they tear up their tickets mid-race while the horse is winning because they know that if Mush has it, they're going to lose. And sure enough, the horse loses. So that's Tim Walz. He is Mush, and his political career also is Mush at this point. So we celebrate the 1 year anniversary of him celebrating Tesla stock dropping and now nearly doubling since that point. Anyway, we've heard about him a lot lately. He is from DNI, that's Tulsi Gabbard's jurisdiction as far as Department of National Intelligence. And this guy resigned famously with an open letter saying he didn't support the Iran war. And this is not justified in any way, shape, or form. So, of course, liberal media will give him the Marjorie Taylor Greene treatment as far as, okay, if you are a Republican or part of the Trump administration and then you revolt, you will get a lot of TV time and love, like we saw with John Bolton, for example, right? Like we've seen with so many other ex-Trump employees or Republicans. Think Adam Kinzinger, right? But here he is, and this is on Tucker Carlson's podcast, and he's talking about how he bumped into Charlie Kirk in the West Wing at the White House. And Charlie, and this is obviously before Charlie died, this was in June of last year. Charlie was executed September 10th, 2025, Utah Valley University. But before that, these were Charlie Kirk's last words to Joe Kent. So he's justified in his position in opposing the Iran war. This is cut number 9. Go.
And Charlie Kirk was one of President Trump's closest advisors, and he also advocated heavily against a war with Iran. He was in the Oval Office in the lead up to the 12-day war. I wasn't particularly close with Charlie. He was very gracious to me when I was running for Congress, very, very supportive. So we knew each other. And the last time I saw Charlie Kirk on this earth was in June in the West Wing, in the stairway. And I said hi to him, and he looked me in the eye, and he said very loudly, and it's a small, you've been in the West Wing, it's small, it's a tight space. And he said, Joe, stop us from getting into a war with Iran.
Wow. So Charlie said to this guy while in the White House, not really knowing him all that well, in a stairwell, instead of being like, hey, how you doing? How are your kids? How are things? Just jump right in with this guy he doesn't really know and said, Joe, do anything you can to stop this war, Joe Kent. Oh, okay. Here's Charlie Kirk, also in June of last year. So this is the actual Charlie Kirk, not a story shared by a guy after he's dead, obviously, so we can't dispute it or not. Here is Charlie Kirk in June, also of last year, in cut 10. And here's what he had to say about Trump's attacks on Iran last year. I think it's a little different than the Joe Kent version. Cut 10, go.
And you might say, Charlie, do you support or oppose this? I support President Trump. That's my answer. I know the man. He's the commander-in-chief. He's the man for the hour, and he's had the weight of the world on his shoulders. So in a situation like this, I support my friend, and he's had my back and I have his. That's my perspective. By the way, I also look at this and I say, and I understand the arguments of people that, don't intervene and all that. I get it. But boy, have we not exhausted so many diplomatic channels and options.
That doesn't sound like a guy who would tell Joe Kent would tell Trump not to go to war with Iran. Said we exhausted all diplomatic channels. Says he supports what Trump is doing. So where's Joe Kent getting this story from? Unless he pulled it literally out of his butt. And that's exactly what happened. And now apparently, the FBI, before he decided to resign, Joe Kent is under investigation. And also, undoubtedly, I can tell you this as somebody who has worked in journalism for many years, when you've heard about, sources within the White House are opposed to this war, I can guarantee you that one of those sources, like an Adam Schiff, was Joseph Kent. That I do know. Anyway, let's turn to New York, shall we? And Kathy Hochul, the governor by default that we have here in this area. Well, in 2022, it was really, really cool to tell Republicans to get the hell out of the state, and we really don't want you anymore. We're a one-party state anyway. What do I need you for, is basically what Kathy Hochul was saying. That kind of now pales in comparison with the fact that many Republicans took her advice and actually decided to leave New York City and New York State and go to places like Florida, Texas, Tennessee, South Carolina, North Carolina, like South, places that don't have income taxes. Most of those states that I just named, warmer weather, better run states, lower crime. All right, so here is Hochul in 2022. And then right after that, we're going to play what she is now begging for in 2026 after all that tax revenue went bye-bye. This is cut number 8. Go.
We're here to say that the era of Trump and Zeldin and Molinaro, just jump on a bus and head down to Florida where you belong, okay? Get out of town. Get out of town. Because you don't represent our values. You are not New Yorkers. Now, There are some patriotic millionaires who stepped up.
2026? 2026.
Okay,
here it is.
Cut me the checks. I mean, just if you want to be supportive, but maybe the first step should be go down to Palm Beach and see who you can bring back home, because our tax base has been eroded. So I philosophically don't have a...
You absolute idiot. You literally begged these people to leave, told them to leave. Don't represent our values. And now we should go down to Palm Beach and, ask them to come back. For what? To support unlimited spending that goes towards social programs that don't fix anything? You told these people to leave, and more will. It's the most pathetic display that you will ever see. Hochul saying, please come back to support our generous social programs when you have run the state into the ground, and Mamdani will run New York City into the ground if it isn't there already. As a matter of fact, we have a great soundbite coming up after the break, of course, of Bill de Blasio with our friend Sean Hannity, talking about how, hey, maybe the defund the police idea wasn't such a good idea. That's coming up when we come back on Concha at Night. Back with more in just a moment.
Where liberalism is a no-go. The Joe Concha Show, weekday edition. Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
Born on America's darkest day of September 11th, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has helped America's heroes ever since. Heroes like United States Army Sergeant William Bernard McKenna, who enlisted after 9/11 and served 2 tours in Iraq, exposed to burn pits. McKenna later died from T-cell lymphoma, leaving his wife Dina and daughters Caitlin and Sabrina. Tunnel to Towers honored Sergeant McKenna by paying off the family's mortgage in honor of his sacrifices. Donate $11 a month and amplify your impact with a car or land donation. Go to T2T.org today.
Picture this. Me, Reese Witherspoon, in London, ordering fish and chips so often they might start wrapping me in paper. I'm traveling with my Wells Fargo Autograph Journey card, so I earn rewards wherever I book travel. 5 times points with hotels, 4 times with airlines, 3 times on restaurants and other travel, and 1 point on other purchases. Imagine getting rewarded for eating a toad in the hole. Wait, what is a toad in a hole?
Visit wellsfargo.com/autograph journey. Terms apply.
Hi, I'm Jim. I'm not an actor, just a guy living with prostate cancer. My wife and I face each day head on. We asked my doctor about Xtandi enzalutamide.
Xtandi 40 milligram tablets treats men with prostate cancer that has spread to other parts of the body and responds to a medical or surgical treatment to lower testosterone. Xtandi may cause serious side effects: seizure, a brain condition called PRESS, allergic reactions, heart disease that can lead to death, falls and bone fractures, swallowing problems, or choking that can lead to death. Stop Xtandi and get medical help at once if your face, tongue, lip, or throat start swelling. Tell your doctor at once if you faint, have a seizure, quickly worsening headache, decreased alertness, confusion, vision problems, chest pain or discomfort, or shortness of breath. Xtandi can cause harm to an unborn baby or miscarriage. Use birth control during and 3 months after Xtandi. Common side effects include muscle and joint pain, feeling unusually tired, hot flashes, constipation, less appetite, diarrhea, high blood pressure, bleeding, falls, fractures, and headache.
Visit Xtandi.com to watch my story.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back, everyone. All right, let's do another flashback, shall we, on Flashback Thursday. Now, it was also on this date in 2021. This, obviously, we're still in the COVID era, at least in blue states. And you remember Lori Lightfoot? She was the mayor of Chicago that left with something like a 16% approval rating, which compared to Brandon Johnson, the current mayor, is quite good. Anyway, here she is announcing that you must show proof of full vaccination through vaccination cards to enter bars and restaurants, gyms, entertainment, whatever you need to get into. You need to show some sort of proof of something. Here, in this case, COVID vaccination, and I'll relate it to what we're going through in 2026 right here on cut number 2. Go.
Today, we are announcing that beginning on January 3rd, you must show proof that you are fully vaccinated to enter bars, restaurants, fitness centers, and entertainment and recreational venues where food or drink are served.
And that is the ultimate contradiction and hypocrisy that we are seeing from Democrats in 2026 after they did this to us in 2021 and 2020 during COVID. Absolutely craptastic and utterly predictable. This is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night. Back with so much more in just a moment.
Instagram teen accounts have automatic protections for what teens see and who can contact them, plus time management tools. And Instagram will continue adding built-in safety features to help create age-appropriate experiences. Learn more about teen accounts and Instagram's ongoing work to protect teens online at instagram.com/teen accounts.
This episode is brought to you by Cologuard. Do you know what's really scary? Not screening for colon cancer when you turn 45. The Cologuard test is non-invasive, requires no special prep or time off work, and ships right to your door. In just 3 simple steps, Cologuard takes the scare out of colon cancer screening. If you're 45 or older and at average risk, ask your healthcare provider about the Cologuard test. Cologuard is available by prescription only. Learn more or request a prescription today at Cologuard.com/screen.
Baseball is back, and the first pitch is on Netflix. The New York Yankees, led by 7-time All-Star Aaron Judge, head to the San Francisco Bay to take on Rafael Devers' San Francisco Giants. This season kicks off with one exclusive opening night game. Watch MLB Opening Night, the New York Yankees versus the San Francisco Giants, live on Netflix. Wednesday, March 25th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific.
It's the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back. So we remember the de Blasio years. Oh, I mean, all I know is I lived in New York City during the end of the Giuliani years, and I could, I didn't go clubbing or anything like that. But if I met up with my friends and it's 2:00 in the morning and I had to walk home, I lived in the Upper West Side, or even take the subway, I never thought twice that my life may be in danger or I can get mugged, or you didn't think about crime. It didn't exist. I mean, it did, I guess, to a certain extent, but it didn't have the feeling that it does now, or the stats that it does now. Forget feelings. Under the current administration of Mamdani, Adams tried to fix things, I guess, but he inherited a broken system due to Bill de Blasio, who, again, Michael Bloomberg handed de Blasio after 2 terms of Giuliani. So 5 terms, 2 Giuliani, 3 Bloomberg, and the city was purring along economically and from a culture perspective, in terms of quality of life, in terms of low crime, everything good. And then de Blasio comes in and decides that, you know what, we really need to defund the police, or at least severely cripple them. And he cut, Bill de Blasio did, as mayor, $1 billion with the B dollars from the New York City Police Department. And crime skyrocketed. People were killed or hurt or scared. And then that's when the exodus began, under de Blasio. And this clown then afterwards gets hired by Harvard University to talk about ethics and to talk about government management and all. I mean, you want to send your kid to Harvard, good luck. You're better off sending your kid to Hartford than Harvard at this point as far as universities. Anyway, here is de Blasio on with Sean Hannity last night, and now he's saying that, hey, maybe, I don't know, the fund the police movement, that may have been a little boo-boo. Cut number 13, go.
The combination of the pandemic, right, and the horror of watching what happened to George Floyd, I think it really made people feel very, very deep emotional things. In retrospect, the whole concept of defund the police made no sense. It made sense to say, how can we do better? It made sense to say, hey, and by the way, a lot of cops told me this, a lot of police leaders told me this. We got a lot more for young people to give them positive alternatives.
No, they didn't.
Because that's good for the police, too. That's good for safety, too.
We're not disagreeing.
Right?
This is amazing. So far, we're doing good.
We're doing good. So defund was a mistake, and I understand where it came from, but it was a mistake. You don't hear people talking about defunding. You have a very, very small swath. Honestly, that I think the world has changed quite a lot for a lot of reasons.
Dude, you led it. You led that defund the police thing completely and totally. In the nation's largest city, you defunded them by $1 billion. You want to know why, you absolute moron, that people in the New York City Police Department, officers, turned their back on you during any speech that you gave? That's because you showed zero respect for those in uniform, those who put their lives on the line. And so many left as a result to go down to places like Florida where they're actually appreciated and not vilified the way you did. So try your do-over. Good luck with that. But all New Yorkers and everybody around the country, for that matter, should remember what this man did to one of the great cities of the world, if not the greatest, when he was in power for 8 years. Bill de Blasio. You think David Dinkins was bad back in the early 90s? This guy, nothing on de Blasio, because he inherited utopia, in essence. That was New York City. And that's what he did to it. Now he's saying, it was a bad idea. It was an emotional decision. What happened to George Floyd? So I listened to the Black Lives Matter movement, which is a corrupt movement, which raised well more than $100 million from people that thought that they were doing something good for the community in some way, shape, or form. And instead, they were doing it to buy multi-million-dollar mansions for themselves. Absolutely corrupt. And Bill de Blasio was part of all of that. You don't get a do-over. You get no forgiveness. Screw you, you absolute clown. And now we have Mamdani, who wants to do the same thing, who got 51% of the vote last year in a mayoral election. You would think we learned after de Blasio. Enough people, I guess, didn't. Then again, you have to have competition against a mayoral candidate to actually defeat that candidate. And in this case, the Republican was there so he could get on TV a lot and make it about himself like he did in the previous election as well. All I know is that the Republican that ran in the last two elections here in New York City has now lost by a combined 85 points. All right. So maybe find somebody else, somebody serious. Find another Giuliani. Bloomberg, when he first ran as a Republican. But at least you know, hey, the guy ran a successful business. Hey, at least he believes in cracking down on crime. Hey, at least he believes in budgets. You could, criticize Bloomberg for the other stuff that he believes in, but ran the city pretty well, didn't he? You need a serious candidate to beat a Democrat in this city, or you end up with the Mamdanis and the de Blasios in the world. In the last two elections here in New York, we certainly did not have that. That is certainly for sure. Anyway, let's move on to... I love this video, actually. This is such excellent stuff because, again, I like playing videos here and audio from way back when you watched late night television, because it's become now, and our special guest tonight on Colbert is Bernie Sanders. And on Kimmel, it's like, and Gavin Newsom joins us for 3 segments. How is that entertainment? It's not. And it's just two people agreeing with each other, talking about politics. What happened to the laughter? And this is one of the great things of all time. On the Tonight Show, this is 1976, all right? So we're talking 50 years ago. Johnny Carson, NBC, 16 million people watching a night. This is Rickles pranking Sinatra, and it's one of the great... And again, it feels like it's totally organic almost, because Sinatra doesn't know what's coming. This is not rehearsed. Cut number 19, go.
Listen, can I tell a story about what this man did to me once? You may have known or heard about this. It was a true story. This is a long time ago, long before Don got married. I was eating dinner in a restaurant in New York, and I was sitting with some friends, and he came over to the table, and he said, Frank, do me a favor, will you? He said, I'm sitting with a very pretty girl, and I'm trying to make out, and he said, I told her I know you, and she really doesn't believe me. Would you stop by the table? I said, all right. I was just about finished. I was down to the espresso, and finally he went back, and I walked by the table, and I said, how are you, Don? Nice to see you. He said, can't you see I'm eating, Frank? What are you doing? And I went for the whole thing. I stood with my mouth open. He said, can't you see I'm trying to make out with this girl? He said, what are you doing bothering me?
See, that's awesome. That's what late night used to be. And I don't want to sound like a curmudgeon or somebody that doesn't get what's going on as far as the hip new late night host. No. Kimmel, Colbert, Seth Meyers, all insufferable. And you never get stories like that anymore in any way, shape, or form. So we're going to try to play those on this show quite often. There's plenty to choose from. That is certainly for sure. Speaking of comedy, James Tallarico, who is running for Senate in Texas as a Democrat, who the media loves. He's the next Beto O'Rourke. This guy, he's a moderate. He's cool. Young people like him, despite the fact that he looks like Howdy Doody. Trust me, look up James Tallarico, and when you see the picture, you'll be like, yeah, Concha, right. He does look like Howdy Doody. Anyway, here is Tallarico. Again, I don't know how this flies in friggin' Texas when you talk about reducing meat consumption to fight climate change, how this person's going to get elected. And if I got to hear one more political pundit tell me that this guy can win in that state after saying something like this, hand in your badge of whatever TV station or cable news network that you work for, because clearly Texas will reject this kind of perspective. Cut number 20, go.
We have, I think, heard more and more issues of animal welfare. I think not just because it's the right thing to do and the moral thing to do, but also it's, as all of you know, necessary to fight climate change. It is now existential that we try to reduce our meat consumption and that we try to respect animals in all aspects of society. And so I am proud to say that our campaign has officially become a non-meat campaign. So we are only buying vegan products from our local vegan businesses. Some of you may know Big Nona's. Okay. They were little Nona's, and then they opened up brick and mortar, so another Big Nona's. But we just got our pizza from there today. And so the point is that I think all of us, not just policymakers, but everyone has to take personal responsibility in this effort.
Yeah. I mean, imagine running the opposing campaign, whether you're John Cornyn or Ken Paxton, whoever ends up being the Republican nominee, and you have to write the ads. Oh, talk about the easiest job in the country. Yeah. The ads, I believe, are writing themselves. When you're talking about vegan Texas, has he been to a cattle ranch? Has he been to any ranch? That literally is like a lot of Texas's economy, the whole beef industry. And this guy's going to run on this? He's like AOC, if AOC were in a bathroom standing up. That's basically it, except when something hits the urinal, it sounds feminine. Like that's basically James Tallarico. At this point, he has said some insane things like there aren't 2 genders. Forget 3. He jumps right to 6 genders. 6. Says that God was non-binary. Says that actually, if you're Catholic, you're really pro-choice because the Virgin Mary would have preferred to be pro-choice so she wouldn't have Jesus. This is an insane person. And the fact that he's being portrayed as a moderate, thank God for social media and thank God for shows and stations like this, because the legacy media can't paint somebody some way and get away with it anymore, because the fact checkers and the Paul Reveres are here to expose absolute insane people like this. Speaking of insane, Gavin Newsom. Oh boy. I love this. Another flashback. I'm big on flashbacks tonight, people. What can I say? This is cut number 6, where Newsom claims that he never used the term Latinx or Latinx, however you pronounce it, because it's not a word. And then, well, let's hear him maybe use that word before, even though he says he never used the term before, because pain is temporary, film is forever. In this case, audio. Cut number 6, go.
Not one person ever in my office has ever used the word Latinx.
So can we finally put that to bed?
Yeah,
we agree?
but where did that even...
No more Latinx, everybody.
Well, I just didn't even know where it came from. I'm like, what are people talking about? Impactful this has been on the Latinx community. Politicians that are banning not assault rifles, but the word Latinx. Nothing I dislike more than the politician that sits there and lies to you. And we all just sit there rolling our eyes going, give me a break.
Oh, that is beautiful. What a compilation. And this thing is now all over TikTok and X and has been viewed millions of times. He's got no shot to be the 2028 nominee. There are too many receipts, and there is too horrific of a record in California. And again, I could just say this, in my sleep. Highest homeless rate in the country, highest poverty rate in the country, highest exodus of people leaving the state in the country. And a guy who didn't know how to simply fill reservoirs during a horrible, horrific, the worst wildfires we've ever seen in this country, bar none. And the reservoirs weren't filled and the fire hydrants didn't have any water. And by the way, he comes across insanely phony as saying that he grew up poor, that he can't read, that because he has a 960 SAT, that he's just like you, black voters. People resent this stuff. We've seen this movie 100 times before, from Mitt Romney to Hillary Clinton to Kamala Harris. People don't like phonies who say anything to get elected. And that's why Gavin Newsom will never, ever be president of the United States. Save the tape now. And, by the way, he has a big liability before we go to break here. Jennifer Newsom, Mrs. Newsom, is now getting on social media more and saying things that make Gavin seem almost reasonable. Listen to this. Cut number 7, go.
There's so much to learn from same-sex couples who have learned to communicate and who also are like, well, look, someone's got to do the care work in a same-sex male couple. Someone's got to do that. So I'm just going to do it. And this is and not be afraid or ashamed, because it's part of being human. We're all on a spectrum, right? It's just how society kind of pushes us and pressures us into these limiting gender roles. But again, the folks on the far right, they're missing is just this, they're living in this silo, this evangelical conservative silo that ultimately it's just pulling us back as a country to a time and a place where we don't deserve to be, and we're not going to be, because honestly, young women and fathers of daughters are awake now and they're woke, and they're not going to let us go back. And so I have so much hope because of that. And obviously California has a huge responsibility to lead.
Oh, imagine being at the French Laundry and overhearing a conversation between Gavin Newsom and Jennifer Newsom. Oh my. She makes Tim Walz' wife, remember what she said, that she used to open up the windows during the riots of 2020 when Minneapolis was burning down just to smell the burning tires, because she felt that it was a sentimental moment. She's going to make her, again, look like somebody that we could have accepted as the second lady of the United States in terms of vice president. Jennifer Newsom, the more she talks, the more Gavin has to be like, please stop talking, even though when Gavin talks, that's also the case as well. So the Newsoms, I have a feeling, will be relegated to the dustbin of history and will never occupy the Oval Office, even though they want that more than anything in the world. Trust me. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night. We wrap this puppy up in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
This episode is brought to you by Redfin. You're listening to a podcast, which means you're probably multitasking. Maybe even scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving homes without expecting to get them. But Redfin isn't just built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. With agents who close twice as many deals, when you find the one, you've got a real shot at getting it. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
Fox News is now streaming live on Fox One. When it matters most, turn to the voices you trust. We go beyond the headlines, bringing you the stories you won't hear anywhere else. Live coverage, sharp analysis, real perspective. At home or on the go, stay connected when it counts. Stream Fox News on Fox One. Download today.
Next up, a laughing session from The Laughing Cow. Now, unpeel a wedge of the Laughing Cow light spreadable cheese, a delicious snack with 2 grams of protein and 25 calories per wedge.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
All right, everybody. Well, if it's any day ending in Y, we're probably going to play a bite from Chuck Schumer, because this person keeps stepping in it. He's like the next Joe Biden almost. Like, is Chuck really all there? Because, again, here he is reading a speech, as he normally does, on the Senate floor, talking about how there's almost no illegal aliens voting in elections. Almost. What does almost mean exactly, Chuck? Cut number 14, go.
The core of the bill is handing the voter rolls over to DHS, putting them through an algorithm designed by Moj and Musk.
Moj?
That supposedly knocks out illegal immigrants from voting. But the evidence is almost no illegal immigrants vote.
Almost none. Okay, so let's do the math on almost, shall we? Let's say almost is 1/20th. All right, that's fair, right? In terms of a fraction, almost is 1/20th of something. Well, if there are 20 million illegals in the country, and that is a very generous low bar number, and 1/20th of 20 million is 1 million, you think you should bring that down to 0? Shouldn't that be none? Can't 1 million votes, especially in swing states in certain districts, decide whether a Democrat or Republican is going to be elected? So if it's almost none are voting, and those are the ones we know of, by the way, the ones that have been caught. You can only imagine what the number is of those who have not been caught. This is the whole ball game here. This is why Democrats are fighting tooth and nail to defeat the SAVE Act, because they know that if it passes, then suddenly that almost number in 7 figures probably absolutely goes away. Meanwhile, here we have, I mean, this is really amazing when you listen to some of these senators, like this one from Oregon, Senator Jama, okay, talking about how ICE needs to get the hell out of Oregon, right? You're going to notice something about Senator Jama's voice because, well, he really can't handle the English language too well, which probably explains why he wants ICE out of Oregon. This is cut number 5. Go.
Let me say to this, to the federal agencies and the ICE.
Yeah.
This is Oregon.
Yeah.
We do not need you. You're not welcome. And you need to get the hell out of our community.
I can't find the words. I'm only on, chapter 2 of Rosetta Stone of English as I represent a part of the state of Oregon. Oh, man, this show writes itself, doesn't it? And I really appreciate everybody for joining us tonight. I appreciate Elias behind the glass and the whole producing team here at WABC in New York. Thank you so much for listening. We're back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Not just on WABC, but on stations around the country and across the world. Until then, I have 2 words for you. Bye-bye.
In this 25th anniversary year of September 11th, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation continues to honor America's heroes. Heroes like Fire Lieutenant Michael Wells, who was inspired by 9/11 to serve his community. After 14 dedicated years of service, he lost his battle with occupational cancer, leaving behind his wife, Katie, and their 3 children. Tunnel to Towers honored Lieutenant Wells by paying off the family's mortgage in recognition of his sacrifices. Donate $11 monthly and amplify your impact with a car or land donation. Go to T2T.org.